You know, the sun is popping from this way. I gotta sit this way, kind of hold the signal. And I got a big chick over there with a fat ass booty. She's trying to show me. Tats all over and shit, waving at me. So I gotta be on my P's and Q's. Talking about these false prophets. Just to let you know, that's what happens on a daily and a regular when you get your semen retention game, supplemency game, keeping it up. Now, most mothers will just go ahead and go. They'll be like, man, see, I'll be over there. I'm like, okay. I'm like, man, I ain't like that. So, we're jumping into the game, big dog. We're talking about this whole little false prophet situation, you know what I'm saying? As far as like dealing with, incubator babies. Now, we all know now, at least if you're conscious to some form of fashion or degree, we know what the incubator babies is by now. We should all know that, incubator babies are the Cabbage Patch. You know what I'm saying? Now, Cabbage Patch, what is that? Well, you know what a Cabbage Patch is. The baby's born in the patch. Big ass Cabbage Patch waterheads and shit. So, anyhow, our so-called leaders who stepped up to the plate to kind of be like, to kind of take the position to say that they are our leaders, to kind of lead us out of darkness in our own minds and shit like that. They failed to kind of mention, the incubator situation. True, we know about, Yakub and the babies and his regulations as far as like him making, the Caucasian, the things of that nature if it occurred in year 8,400 or whatever year. They like to throw the numbers around to get niggas kind of thrown off a little bit. But just adding into the game, man. Like, just adding on to the cipher as far as like, look, for those who came before us, even Marcus Garvey, even Noble Drew Ali for sure, because he should have had an inkling to know that if you're dealing with the Caucasian, that they were a grafted type of species, and when I say that came right after them basically talking about that in the NOI when he was, when Noble Drew Ali was. So yeah, Noble Drew Ali never really spoke on, a grafted species, and that came along a little bit afterwards, after, supposedly he transitioned or whatnot. And even Marcus Garvey didn't speak of it too tough. He didn't say nothing about them being grafted until Elijah Muhammad came into the game. Now, they came with the bits and pieces of the story of the Yakub situation, how Yakub kind of grafted, the Caucasian on the island of Patmos with 59,000 followers, basically 900 and some odd followers, plus including himself, and he taught them the science of civilization and how to go and do certain things in the world, And so, however, this was explained in Theology at Times, a thick ass book like this, but it's explained over and over through, a lot of Muhammad Speaks and the Final Call newspaper. And, just for those who don't have, the books, but I had the book too, and it speaks about it in Message to the Black Man. I did an answer to that when I was like knowledge equality or 16 years old. However, to go in depth with the incubator babies, it's like they never really spoke on it, where it was like, okay, these were people who were brought in on trains in America, from 1800, from 18 something to 19 something damn near, a whole bunch of Caucasians just came in. They never really spoke on that for us. They were too busy building on us not being able to swim this 9,000 miles. That was the marketing scheme. That was kind of like a business scheme or plan for your spirit or your soul, basically, to give your all to these motherfuckers, and not really do the knowledge for self. We went through a great, downfall. We forgot who we were. It was wars that went down. Our land was taken, and we being humble and nice or kind or whatnot allowed for those type of things to happen. We weren't really in the buck up situation. We may do the smoke, but we were just really still as a calm type of people. However, though, our shit was taken right from under our nose. And so for the NOI or Malachi York, especially Malachi York, because he went on to talk about the space and Planet Risk and light year travel and this, and they want to tell you how fast a refraction of light is hitting the earth, and if it's not 186,000 miles a second, that can't be possible or whatever, or the speed of thought and all this shit to go dance around. Where in the fuck the incubator babies come from? And how come your ass didn't speak about it? you know, you said something in the future. We know and understand that, you know, for those who study, you know, Malachi York's, the Nuwapians, the Holy Tabernacle, and all them little books he wrote for business, which you could buy yourself into his camp for $27. You don't give a fuck who you is. You got $27. Come on, bring it. You know what I'm saying? It's not that you had to go through some type of self-sacrificial Kundalini light body, you know, activation type of self-ritual for your own self to hold your own self accountable. Whereas if you busting nuts, man, you gonna be sad and regretting your own self. Like, I ain't gotta do shit. I ain't gotta say, bro, you been busting nuts? Yo, that's 10 slashes right now. Yo, go ahead, get Big G over here. It's a mouth shot. Little bro over here busting nuts and shit, man. Now we ain't do none of that shit. Your ass gonna be held accountable for your own self because you don't feel bad for your own. Like, damn, you know, you'll just slowly but surely just weed yourself out. So the qualified themselves in this season. And so with I say the false prophets, they never really spoke on these things, how powerful, you know, the Kundalini is. Anyways, even though Malachi York went to write on all these books, and he wrote up books on sexual gratification and how a man can come through his anus and how a woman can, all this little shit, instead of saying, yo, man, you have a light that needs to be cultivated every month, that moves up through your chakra system over and over and loops through your life. And every month it gets up to one chakra to the next. In 7 months, boom, you're at the crown, and now you're outside your body. Now you're able to chop it up outside of things and being cool with nature and the higher vibratory frequencies. Never telling you shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Saying like, yo, you got to cultivate this, and the only way you do it is by not busting nuts. A lot of these people coincidentally went to jail or went down. So yeah, they got to make some type of false gods and that nature. Pardon me. You know, they kind of hitting the button. Really know what's up. You know, I think the green shit's turning. Beautiful day though. So anyhow, you know, so they went as far as to say that they ran into the Anunnaki, because Malachi York straight up say the Anunnaki, and say we is and all that. That's the only reason why you hear niggas talking about Anunnaki in the first place. Ain't nobody was talking about that shit, you know. He was talking about it, adding on to what Zechariah Sitchin had spoke of, and it's like, oh, let's go and add on with this. We the Elohim Anunnaki. Now we got languages, we building with the cuneiform, and we're showing you the science of the Syriac language stock and how it born, you know, Arabic, then Aramaic, then Arabic, and all these different things and shit. But didn't tell you when the true Sabbath was. And today, being Saturday, is not true Sabbath. And this is where, you know, he could have told you that. All the false prophets, but really Malachi York, because he actually went through the science of like a Christianity type of thing, or you know, the actual Judaism type shit. He did Islam too. He had the Islamic Hebrew mission, and not once did he really did honor the Sabbath, which was the 4 holy days of the moon, the 4 sacred days of the moon. It kept everybody on that. Too busy revealing certain things that we didn't know. So this is when we start. We was big on holding big eyes and little U's on mugs. We was like appreciating people with the information at those times and shit. So we would run with them and hang with them or whatever, instead of doing the knowledge of our own. And this is where the gods and earths kind of differed at, because some of the gods and earths within the 5% kind of was like an 85%er, which was they just kind of was led wrong and along the way. By 10% that's a part of that, of the other 5% who was like, you know, just kind of want to still had the egotistical narcissism type of shit going on and didn't want to handle themselves, versus those who were like in the 5% within the 5%, you know. And I'm excluding the people in the world who actually added on with their books and stuff. I'm just talking about the nation of gods and earth right now. And you know, the ones who had the 5% within the 5%, like, yo, they were actually in tune and really wanted to teach and really wanted to get individuals to open up their mind and be able to find some type of way to add on and make our own, you know what I'm saying, our own, just period, you know, because we're capable of doing such. And those were like certain artists that didn't really sell out to the industry like that. And shout out to poor righteous teachers, because that's all we is just really poor righteous teachers, the 5% of the earth, of the planet Earth, you know, who teach that the true and living God is not a spook in the sky, but to be seen with the living eye. So we just put that up in there. So yeah, anyhow though, as far as like with this incubator thing, the Malachi York situation, that right there, you know, we just gotta add on to that, because he, even though he did speak that babies were gonna be born in the future with, I'm just going right off, you know, I wish I had the paper to be like, yo, okay, this is what we hitting, but we're gonna have that later. But right now I gotta get it all out. And so he never really spoke of, you know, you know, he only spoke of that babies is going to be born and they're going to be like in the egg form type of shit. And then since they're going to be in the egg form, it's like, you know, they're basically going to be like an embryo and they're going to hatch outside of, you know, being in their body at first, on the woman's body at first. Instead of just saying like, yo, these muscles actually made in actual, you know, ready-made embryos, which are incubators and shit, and grew these people quickly, like food. You know what I'm saying? Like how we would grow fruits and stuff like that, and how we would grow gardens. Instead of just saying that, and that's where they came from. Instead of speaking on, they never spoke on the trains that came on. We had to really figure that out later on. It had to get put into mainstream damn near. And some of us knew it and some of us didn't know it, you know. The ones who knew it, you know, just had to live with it and be able to pass it on and you know, not be the big eye little you to people when you reveal that type of information at those times, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it got a little deep. So yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, but these false prophets gotta go ahead and give them their shit back now, man. Because they never revealed none of these things, not the Tatari structures, not the structures that was already in America, none of that. It was always too big on getting back over to Africa, always marketing to you to get back to Africa. Even Malachi York talking about he was from Sudan and then he had to come over to America, and then boom, 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 they got with Sudan and got with America. He kind of like tied himself in, you know what I'm saying, to make it seem like we were all like that. But he had to mention the fact that we were already in America. And that was dealing with, even if they said the 2 million Indians, that was considering us, basically, you know, as far as like dealing with one of the lessons in the NOI, you know, as dealing with the 2 million Indians that making a total of 19 million, all original people, so-called in the wilderness of North America. And it was in a degree, you know, that we studied, that we don't take to heart, because those questions was only answered very near correct by Elijah Muhammad, who was questioned by Farad Muhammad. It's like the guys and nerves, those who are like the 5% for real, they know we're not taking that right on us. Like it's actual truth, you know what I mean? It's like we're doing the knowledge, you take that, take through the knowledge, you know what I'm saying? Use your refinement, remove anything that's trash and filth, and add that back onto the cipher so it could be consistent of truth only. That's pretty much what we do. We just ain't running with anybody's old ideology and just like, y'all, with the NOI, I'm this. I'll be like, well, how can it help you go to the NOI right now? When it's like, this is 100 years since false prophet been out. And yeah, they're going to tell you certain things that's going to transpire, but you know, they're not going to tell you of names. Malachi York went as far as to tell you some type of names. Farrakhan ain't tell you shit. If you tell them like, yo, is this, tell me about the Spirit One Atlas, motherfucker. You should have been saying the name back then. Malachi was saying the name to a degree. They called it Apophis. So it was known, you know what I mean? But it was like, you know, he just didn't want to be teaching at that time anyways. You know, the land got taken from him. He had a for sale sign on his land. Most High said, don't sell the land, or don't sell sacred land. And he was about to sell it anyway. So that was already like a... So it was like, those were the questions. Like, yo, man. And any people who's trying to resurrect these dudes, bring them back up and, you know, make them seem like they just like, you know, holier than thou and shit. Like, he told you this 30 years ago. Yeah, he may have knew of the information, but that don't mean that he's right and exact. That he's right and exact in his shepherdship. So yeah, things are to be revealed. It's only up to you to have the discernment in your heart to be connected to the all true creator, the true birth of the mama, the actual source, you know. And then when you do that, that's when you know, hey, this ain't no blueprint bust right here. That's the only way we got now. That's how most I got it. He got it that damn real. If that is real, nigga, this is the most realest shit you can fucking do then. It's not like, you know, like it's a game, but it's not a game, really. You gotta always be victorious. The Most High gave you a culture that'll always win, always. If you just do what you're supposed to do, listen to the heart, listen to your discernment that was given to you, we'll naturally fall back together. We got a motherfucker. He ain't seen me in my spot. So he came out, he's like, I know he out here. You gotta pour yourself going on that tree, though. That's one of my gang stalkers. They come out here at this time. I'm finna go on the inside. I just wanted to chop it up with the bros and shit as far. And bros and the life family too. On the false Sabbath day. You know what I mean? Because it's their Saturn day. This is who they praising. You know, they got their little square shit on their little head. You know, you seen their little things that these Jewish priests got, man. You know what I'm saying? They got the little, and that means Saturn. That's how far they can get up. It's like with the body. They can't get outside the body. That's why they trying to get out the dome. They can't get out that motherfucker, man. It's like, hell no. My babies can, though. And the way to do it is to cultivate that energy within, your Kundalini energy within, so that your inner cosmic orbit can be going the right way. Once it's going the opposite direction, or slowing down to go the opposite direction, you begin to question yourself. And what slows it down is those parasites. They give you that doubt, those illusions, not just catching on to the truth, not being able to see the truth for what it is, and that's your power. Our power is the truth. That's the Most High, which is our all-source creator, pretty much. And once we tap into that, we'll be able to see it. My man said, yeah, turn around. It's hot, nigga. Picking up the guy in front of me. Over here, crystal, charging up, so I can be able to go inside. I got my stone charging up. It's somewhere around here, but I got them. Oh, damn, they down there. I gotta go get them. Shit. Oh, no, I got it right here. I'm about to say. Gotta go down there with the big booty girl. She's like, yes. I'm over here just naked and shit. And this is a big movie, man. She's basically inviting me to come over. Right, like, man, yeah, you gonna get off that live, you gonna go over that type of thing. It ain't about banging that shit. You know what I'm saying? You can be intimate and flirt and all that shit if you know how to control your inner orbit and shit. But like I say, for those who have a very hard time of like dealing with the self-equality, which is just allow it to be so far down and shit, and the gated happen to occur, then that's at a point where it's like you may have to just like fast yourself on self-equality for like the rest of the movie. Shit. It's serious, but it's cool though, because you'll be able to heal and you'll be some type of superhero in the etheric realms and shit, because you kind of been squandering off your early energies, at the early part of your life. So you kind of got to get that back up again, at least some type of years, 6 more, in like 10 years or so, whatever how long it takes, You still feel great every day whenever you're doing celibacy and singleton. Right now, the planets is lined up for us to do it, and it's right on point. So this is where our energies is at, and this is where our power lies at. It's in the spirit game, anyways, because the spirit is like the God realm compared to the mortal realm. Like I say, a lot of spirits don't know physical things. They died in infancy. These beings were died in infancy. They've been mixed up in different heavens and ashes and stuff. We've seen a lot of shit like that been dumped everywhere. Their spirits left in trauma. They're confused because they don't have the right divine diva order, the real diva, not the Davis over in Vedic and all that, dealing with Hinduism. We're talking about the true diva. They don't have the source. The source is not in order yet. Everything is out of disorder, but we got to get cleaned up first, and then everything is get put back in order. But like I say, as far as like dealing with these spirits who's been aborted, the ones who are the false gods they send in a lot. They got a lot of angels too, so they send them to those abortion clinics, snatch them spirits up quick, and train them up in how to be demonic and devilish and evil. Even if their spirit is not such, they'll still have to do a season. You know what I mean? Until they're able to get to the Most High, be able to send an Etherian or someone close to get them somehow, some way. But this is what we're trying to avoid, all that type of situation and shit, because like it's a lot of spirits in the game, a lot of spirits, and they don't even know how to move physical things. And if you do the knowledge of the movie Ghost, that right there showed you, it was a clip in there where it was a spirit in the subway. They were he was showing them how to touch a physical thing, and it was like, he couldn't touch physical stuff yet. He was just like, boom, he was like trying because he transitioned. He just couldn't do it. This spirit been around for a grip, and he just be terrorizing mortals and shit, just making shit fly in the face and all that shit. So he was showing them how to move this penny, and so as he got to a point where he moved this penny, boom, he was able to pick that motherfucker up and shit like that, and he was able to show his wisdom that, how he was murdered or whatnot, and how his spirit and soul wasn't able to rest until that justice was, handled. And that's how your ancestors is right now. They can't rest until justice is hidden right. Spirit can't rest until justice is served, G. So that's why a lot of shit gonna happen. They in the realm where they can fuck up mortals. Like we do it. We can actually send them to them if no side say, okay, that's when they're supposed to happen and shit. But right now, we ain't supposed to be doing no shit like that at all. We just supposed to sit back and get that Kundalini up and get your light body up, so you won't be all in a disadvantage, basically, but in the energy where you don't want to do shit, a lacking energy, Like you're just like, man, I don't want to get up and do nothing with my life. I just drag my feet around all day. I don't know. I'm being influenced by these spirits that's around me, because they don't know that. But that's what's going on, though, you know. And so in order to get your life body back, you got to cut off them spirits and them legion spirits. They'll work for you. Actually, when they see you doing something, like, damn, this mortal is doing this. Because some of these mothers ain't never lived a physical life, and they're looking at you, but they can't touch you, but they can be around you. They can da-da-da all in your ear if they can get close enough. If you ain't got that protection where motherfuckers is like, you know, like how celebrities are, that's how it is in the spirit game. So you got ancestors and shit that's sitting around, you know what I mean? And you can have to purify yourself enough to get closer to them. It's like, you know, you can't go to you wouldn't do this if a mug is dirty and shit, and you know, I mean, you can do this, but if you're dirty and filthy in your spirit, you know, your ancestors really not gonna be chopping it up with you too tough, you know. It's another little wisdom. They coming through us. I see these people over at the woods. They look at me now. I'm like, I gotta smile. But I get some extras. Y'all want to see? Hold on. There's one over there. One over there. You guys seen something? And this one over here, I gotta be focused here. This mother is thinking in all that survey. And you know she ready for it. I ain't gotta do much. I'm in Empress mode. I got ultramagnetic attraction type shit going on. I'm not bragging. I could just sit there and they just do whatever and shit at this point. Shit, you know what I mean? But anyways, you know, that's why cultivating that energy and getting it up to a higher, getting it up to your highest level is basically a way of building your frequency up and building up your sphere that you have around you, your atmosphere that you have around you. You know, you're like a little Earth or a little galaxy yourself. You know, you have little life forms that live and die and go into the cosmic atmosphere of your body as well. And you're like the main god of that. Like you're like the mini all I am, and it's like the big god out here is like the mini all I am too. So we're like this a representation of building our consciousness to expand on an omnipotent level, you know, instead of just being on a one little, whatever you want to call it, three-dimensional level or whatever you want to say, a corporeal level or whatnot. We're actually seeing spiritual things now, and you can see now where everybody at, where heaven they're in, and how you can react to these people, because now we know that white folks got cluster B personalities. And how we know that? Because they came from incubators. That means they ain't got no mama and no daddy. Nobody was able to hug them. Their genes weren't passed down for thousands of years with love and compassion and discipline and, you know, things that instill virtue in the motherfucker. They ain't got that. So when they see niggas, they're like, oh shit, they really do that? And they can't really understand that too tough. It's kind of like a spirit trying to understand what the physical is. You're dealing with walking dead men. You know what I'm saying? Walking dead Asians. They call it Caucasians, man. And so we like the highest healers on earth. So when they sent their asses over to us, they're like, they know what to do with these motherfuckers. Like, what? So we had to go through some shit. Now we see, okay, all these mothers got cluster B personality disorder. So it's up to us to not get triggered when they try to, you know, gaslight or project and offend you in some sort of fashion, because that's what they're trying to do. They don't even know that they're offending you. But if they do know that they're offending you, that means that they're admitting to their sociopathic, you know, mishaps that they got going on. To even come out your mouth to try to offend someone, to try to hurt them, it just shows and proves that they have a very low self-esteem, and they need validation from their own little circle or source, which we will call narcissistic supply, or that's in the ICD-9, ICD-10 medical terminology book. So now you can pick it up. You can point out, like, Google that, like ICD-9, ICD-10, cluster B personality. How you get it? Well, niggas got it now. Now we see. We got traits and shit, all right? So with that being said, man, you know, hear the false prophets, they step back, because they do got this I got this man coming over. Look at this shit. Look at this shit, y'all. This motherfucker just came all the way back over here to me. He had some and shit. I'm like, damn, is that drawing up? Like, ain't anybody behind me and shit? I don't know. But this motherfucker, I was finna get ready to move around any goddamn way. And I got the thick broad. Oh yeah, because I got the women. The women start sitting around me, men be acting a certain way. It's like in the gym, you know. But the light is up, you know what I mean? It shows and proves everything is real. Mug ain't letting that drop. And I'm with you, brothers. We're gonna walk all the way to the top. Only a few gonna make it to the top to qualify themselves and shit. So is that you? If it is, I like to build with you. Alright, that being said, I love y'all. Peace. I'll build with you in the next one. One time for the cabbage patch, y'all.